Cadex Defence two-stage, single-stage trigger, your choice. We're going to be putting that on in this episode, so stay tuned, and let's keep going. All right, welcome back to ELR-Precision. It's been a while since I've uploaded something, and that's dually because of the test parameters that I do stuff with. I take my time to test stuff so that I can give you guys the best review and the best and honest opinion on all the gear that I use. Now, we've been doing a Remington 700 build in a couple of episodes by now, and one of my biggest gripes with the Remington 700 is the trigger. Now, I've been discussing with myself whether or not to include a video on how do I adjust the original trigger on the Remington 700. I've decided not to do this because I do not want to be a part of unaliving your hunting buddy or your shooting buddy or whoever you might be in the vicinity of whilst using the firearm. The reason I say this is because if you adjust the Remington 700 original trigger in the wrong way, it can go off just by closing the bolt or by bumping it or by hitting it with a rock or dropping it on its head from a tall building. Who knows what you guys do with your rifles? That's up to you guys. But that is the reason why I have not chosen to include how to adjust the original trigger. I did get the original trigger to a point where I was happy with it. This is unloaded and not, yeah. Anyway, I did get the trigger to a point where I was not unhappy with it, but it's still not where I want it to be. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I have this. This is a Cadex, as it says on there, DX2 EVO. Now, the cool thing about the Cadex Defence DX2 EVO, or DX to the second power EVO, is that you can decide whether or not you want this to be a single stage or a two-stage. If you put that screw right there, you change that from that position and put it up here instead, so I can get the light to be with me, then it's a single stage. If you have it down here, it's a two-stage. That's pretty damn cool. I haven't seen that before. Now, we're going to be putting this Cadex Defence DX2 EVO trigger into the Remington 700. You might be able to spot something in the background on the bench. That is also a heads up to what might be happening in the near future. Because the second gripe I have on the Remington 700 is the stock. It's just not stiff enough. It's not, whenever I put some weight on it, when I have a bipod, when running a bipod, if you're running this solely as a hunting rifle, shooting it from a standing position, I don't see any problem with this stock at all. But I am usually in the prone position, or I am on a barricade of some sort. I'm using the bipods in a way or another. And I feel that I can get more precision out of the rifle as is with a stiffer chassis. And we're going to get into that when we put it over into said chassis. For this video, Cadex Defence two-stage, single-stage trigger, your choice. Now, the first thing that I want to do when working on a rifle is, of course, make sure that everything is unloaded, make sure that there's nothing in the chamber, make sure that everything is safe. So, best and easiest way to do that, take the bolt out, set that aside, put that over here. And what I'm always an advocate of putting it up in a vise. So let's do that now. All right, we've changed our position a little bit. Now we're at the vise. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have some jaws that has this geometry in there so that it can grab onto something round on this camera as well, because I feel that this is a little bit better at focusing on stuff that's close up. All right, like that. That geometry has to be in there, because when you do clamp down on your barrel, you don't want to clamp down on one single point. You want to have as much contact with the barrel as possible. Usually, I would set up a rag or a piece of cloth or whatever in there just to not scratch the barrel. What you can do, you can go into your bathroom and you go get your towel. Don't tell your wife that you got it. Maybe it needs to be washed, who knows. And you just throw this over the vise. Like so. You can fold it once or twice, whatever floats your boat. And then you just push it down into the vise like so, making sure that you can get to your screw. And first off, we're gonna flip it around because we need to get to the trigger. We need to take the rifle stock off the barrel or the action. So on this, 2 screws, one at the front and one at the back. Take those 2 out, and there you go. You take the rifle stock off. You have that next to it now. No rifle in there. And you have your action, barreled action, whatever. Now, to work on the trigger, you're going to need a couple of tools. You're going to need a punch, like so, and you're going to need a small hammer. And I mean a small hammer, because this is not something that you want to pound on. Don't get dirty. To get the original trigger out of the rifle stock, you got one pin there, and you got another pin there. You do have this little springy thing right here that you want to take care of, that you don't lose that. And then you have this bolt release mechanism that pushes on that from the bottom like so. All right, so what you want to do is you want to punch these out, and you want to punch those that way through the stock, so the tapered end right there is being pushed back in the other end. You just take your punch and put that up against that pin, like so, and then you just give it a couple of whacks. Nothing too violent, nothing too harsh, because you don't want to damage anything. You do want to reuse these pins. So let's give it a slight tap. And that pin comes right out. Now the firing mechanism dropped. That means that it's out. And then you go on to the second pin that is also holding. Oh, right, you want to put that on safe before you can get anything out. And you also just lightly tap that, and it's easy to feel when it lets go. And when you've done that, you can simply lift out the trigger. The original trigger is in 2 pieces. So it's one piece for the firing mechanism and a second piece for the rest of the body. You have the bolt release on that side. We're going to leave that there because we need that for our Cadex trigger. The Cadex trigger just drops in just like your Remington 700 trigger did. Just push that back in. You don't even need to really use a hammer. I like to have that all the way in, so just give it a slight tap, like so. And make sure that this spring right there, is kind of important, is where it needs to be. You lift this up and down just to make sure that that's where it needs to be. And you want to make sure that this pin hits all the holes that are in line. And you can kind of feel that when it hits the holes. you can feel it just grabbing on. And I use my belly, not that I have a massively huge belly. In this case, it would actually help to have a bigger belly. And if it's teasing a little bit, you can just turn that over so you can see what's going on. In this case, I can see that I want to go a little bit backwards. There we go. And hey presto. There we go. Turn this around again. And one of the other advantages of having that geometry on your vise is that you can see what's going, or you can move it around while it's in the vise. So you can loosen it up and turn it around without being worried about it falling out of there. And that was actually it. That was all you need to do to change the trigger on the Remington 700. Now, we have the Cadex DX2 EVO trigger on there with the safety working as it should. With a nice competition feel to it with the red on the black. The mag release, or not the mag release, the bolt release also works well. And now we just have to put the bolt in there to see if it'll work. Bolt's over here. We put that in like so. We just clamp down on that so that's not going nowhere. Okay, put that in there, go down, and it's working. Alrighty, that's a massive improvement. And take the test on whether or not it will fire inappropriately. That is safe. Oh, that's nice. Now that feels amazing. I'm looking forward to trying it out. I'm looking forward to using it. I'm looking forward to firing it. I will probably lighten this up a bit, just to make it as user friendly for me as possible. Put that back in there for now. Go. And there we have it. One trigger job on the Remington 700. Okay. I have to look into that, why that's stuck in there. You know what? That's not really an issue because I have just decided I'm not going to use this chassis or this stock anymore. So in about 30 seconds, I'll be changing the stock to a chassis instead. And hopefully that will alleviate that problem because I'm not willing to go back and use the original trigger. So hopefully that will alleviate that. Until then, because that is a different video. Until then, remember to subscribe, remember to like, remember to comment, remember to share, and remember to... I'm still working on a catchphrase. Stay safe and stay tuned is stay safe and stay armed and stay safe, stay ready and stay safe. Help me out with the catchphrase. I need something new, because stay safe and stay tuned kind of feels generic. I need something else that is better than that. Maybe I should ask AI. What do you guys think? Anyway, until next time. Something, 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 something.